the X, Toycat, and some good news came out of Minecraft this week because we heard from King Big Dogs that he's been porting the Warden to Bedrock, and it's been very fun. They can now move towards vibrations that it listens to because the Bedrock version of the game finally has actor game event listeners, and we'll ignore that for now. Just say that A Torstling and I have been tackling it this week, and it's good to have a plan in front of us. So yeah, they finally made the technical changes possible behind the scenes so that they can add the Warden, of course, to the 1.19 update and not into 1.18 like originally planned. By the way, good question about 1.19 because we've been debating about the Warden between Java and Bedrock for a while, and Max Zeong has the really interesting question for the titular Q&A Saturday. Actually, wouldn't the Warden need to be balanced to do more damage on Bedrock? Because Bedrock protection for armor takes like 4% damage, and yeah, the way enchantments that protect you work is slightly different between versions, and so it is theoretical that if you have full Netherite gear that's full protection 4 and you're playing on easy, you might not even have to worry about the Warden. I imagine they will balance for this. It's even possible that we see the combat update having some more haste just because of this. I'm just kidding, we're never going to see the combat update. But what we are consistently seeing, even with new features that they say they want to make exactly the same between the two versions of Minecraft, is the Bedrock version is slightly harder for some reason or another. In this case, I think it's balanced by the way Java regeneration works and being so much easier, but that's just another point for another question, because the second question here is also about parity. It comes in from Gavin Davis, and he says, question for tomorrow, does large biomes work / affect new generation in 1.18? And this question was a month ago, so oops, sorry. But I guess it's better late than never, and so to answer your question, will you have the large biomes effect in 1.18? We have an official response from Henrik on this one, and the sad answer is that unfortunately, amplified and large biome world types are only on Java for now. Hoping we could add these to Bedrock at some point, but we can't promise. And this is kind of lame in my opinion, that like so many features haven't been added to Bedrock so that they can match parity with Java, but then Java keeps on getting these brand new features, or in this case, it's a feature that came back from something they had to remove. Isn't it kind of lame that they can't add that to Bedrock, despite the fact that it's been on Java for a long time and they claim they want to put things perfect? But Henrik Nieberg's response, I thought it was pretty decent and diplomatic, was we are one team, not separate teams, and we care a lot about parity, but the backlog of parity differences is quite long, so we need to pace ourselves. And honestly, it sounds like the backlog is getting bigger and bigger every update. If they keep moving at the speed they're moving at, they will never reach parity. They need to work out, okay, do we want to have two Minecraft versions that are always going to be different in some ways, but are the same at the core, or are we just going to have two games that work to their various strengths? I think obviously the dream from anyone's perspective, whether you're marketing, a player, or a developer, is make the games exactly the same, because that's the ideal world where no one has to care what platform they're playing on. However, you know, again, I feel like realism is needed at some point to just work out, okay, there are two different versions, but we're going to take advantage of this and make things better. But I don't think this is Henrik's fault. I don't think this is King B Dog's fault. I don't think this is any developer individually's fault. Of course, it's a big team-wide decision that has to be made across not only developers, but also, you know, the strategy guys, you know, in terms of making the money, but also in terms of marketing, because marketing Minecraft is so much easier if they at least can do a really good job at pretending that it's all one game. And yeah, it's very interesting stuff. Speaking of interesting stuff, Matthew Anderson asks about the brand's new pre-release. And so for those of you uninitiated, 1.18 pre-released on Thursday, which means we're getting very close to the end of the update. They've basically frozen new features. They're now going to work on bug fixing. And do they promote the pre-releases over the snapshots though? Because it was mentioned if they don't find any other major bugs by getting it out there, it seems like you can access the snapshots the same as the pre-releases anyway, and so you'd expect the same general amount of interest and thus bug reports coming in. So they'd know what issues exist already generally, and this is totally true, Matthew Anderson. The pre-releases are slightly better known about than the snapshots. A lot of players who might not play snapshots will check out the pre-release in some capacity, and so they'll get a few more bugs, but in reality, in the broad sense of the word, you're right. The vast majority of people who would play a pre-release are also playing these snapshots every week, and a lot of people say this is like, oh, so a pre-release is just another snapshot where they're not adding features anymore, and that is definitely true on one level, but I think the bigger way to describe this would be that actually these snapshots effectively just work as pre-releases. Effectively, Minecraft is updating the game every week, and although those are unstable releases, and they warn you so many times, don't play your main worlds here, so many people do just play in the latest snapshot every single week, so they can experience the newest features as soon as is humanly possible, and I do think that that is a real problem attitude, not only for the players, because you're spoiling your updates for yourself effectively, but also for Mojang, because they can warn you as many times as they like, please don't put put your worlds in this. This is a snapshot. It's experimental, but then people lose their world and they're very concerned about data loss. And so they have to play it more safe with the snapshots than they did in past. And so a lot of things that we could have been allowed to test as a community, we aren't able to, either because they'll be game-breakingly bad, or the worst thing is that people expect what is in these snapshots to remain forever, even though, again, they should be allowed to play around and experiment. And I'll totally admit, as a YouTuber, I'm part of this problem. We talk about snapshots like they are definitively the next update, because it's the simplest way to describe things. But yeah, the 1.18 pre-release is the first time we can definitively say everything in the update by now should be in the finished update unless something goes drastically wrong. And speaking of drastically wrong, Mason Rain says this take, does anyone think Minecraft has enough in it already? I mean, is Mojang just gonna keep updating it? And yeah, I mean, it's easy to slam dunk on the guy who's like, yeah, actually, I've worked out that I have enough money. Is anyone else realizing that they just have too much happiness? Like, I wish I could be sadder, you know, but I just can't achieve it. But obviously we could slam dunk him for that reason. But I think there is an interesting point here that, like, yeah, if you are really enjoying Minecraft right now, and you've enjoyed it for a long time, and the updates don't really add anything new for you, it does seem dumb that they keep updating it every single year, or twice a year, officially. Actually, this year we've had 2 updates, if you count Caves and Cliffs Part 1 and Part 2 as 2 updates, which I definitely do, by the way. But yeah, so basically, this year we've got 2 updates, and that's just too many. I think they should go back to not updating Minecraft, because it's perfect just the way it is. And this kind of falls into the whole thing of, like, you have so much more to lose from a Minecraft update. If Minecraft is already perfect, then you have to gain. For example, the generation is going to permanently change in 1.18 in ways that makes finding these annoying water lakes in the world just a little bit harder. And if you hate water lakes, like 99% of the population, boom, Minecraft got better. But if you love water lakes, oh no, how tragic. Other examples of this might be the height limit increasing. You might like that everything is perfectly at the height limit right now, and you have to move it up. So yeah, aren't updates actually ruining Minecraft? And I'm definitely going to come down on the side of no. You can just choose not to update Minecraft if you really don't want to. You can't play online as easily if you do that. And if you play Bedrock, there's a lot of issues with choosing to do so. But yeah, long story short, I think that if you really wanted to keep Minecraft the way it is right now, you could do that. But I think there's never going to be a good argument that Minecraft has enough in it. Maybe we could argue they need better features. Maybe we could argue they need more features to be added. But the cool thing about video games is you can always just choose not to play with the latest version, which is something I feel like a lot of people struggle with in the real world. Is like, yeah, you can't just choose to take things back 10 years if you're uncomfortable with the world right now. We all have to live in a world that's comfortable for all of us together, and that's much harder than a video game where, like, you know what, I'm out of here, I'm gonna go back to 1.10. You can't do that in real life, and that's why progress is such a rocky, strange thing that seems like it goes backwards sometimes and forwards others, because we're all collectively trying to move this weird world we live in forwards, just like Cesar Dokic is trying to move his question forwards. Why is no one talking about the 1.19 update? And we'll just ignore the fact that I spoke about the 1.19 update earlier in this video for the sake of that, because yeah, now there is so much more focus amongst YouTubers, Minecraft people, and everyone about the 1.18 update, but isn't 1.19 objectively more exciting? And honestly, in my opinion, even though the Warden is great, and even though seeing that update when it's new will be wonderful, I think the reason people care more about 1.18 is that is the update we'll actually be able to play with our real hands, or our toes, or our fingertips, I guess. Like, it's a thing we'll be able to actually play with our minds in a short amount of time, whereas 1.19 is this nebulous update that's being worked on behind the scenes by some people in a way that we're not going to be seeing for months, whereas 1.18 is actually going to change Minecraft forever in a short few weeks, and that's really exciting to most people. So yeah, 1.18 is, it's weird because I feel like the timing of 1.19 coming out was kind of bad on this one, that like, yeah, they announced an update, then we're gonna go talk about 1.18 for a bit, but the moment 1.18's been out, we're gonna immediately shift to talking about 1.19, or at least that's what I theorize, and I just feel like that's not good for the Minecraft brand. You know, they want people to be excited about 1.18 for the full 6 months or a year, or whatever it is, until the next update, rather than being like, okay, 1.18's here, I feel like the caves are missing something, but that's fine, which is actually where we'll maybe end up. Speaking of things we might end up with, Milos Ilik, this is like 2 Slavic comments in a row right here, says, am I the only one, or is he saying Java edition? And it's a funny British speech pattern that I didn't realize I had, and it sounds entirely incomprehensible if you're not from the UK, so just trust me on this one. For some reason, if you're British and you say a word that ends in an A, and then a word that starts in an E, for some reason you connect them with an R. So I can say the word panda, you know, a panda bear. But if I describe the popular United States fast food chain with the Chinese food that you get in a little box, I would say Panda Express. And I have no idea when that happens, that panda becomes panda, but like my brain is just trying to say Panda Express, but it's coming out that way. And so the same thing is true for the Java edition. If I say Java, and then I say edition, you can hear perfectly. If I say Java edition, then you can probably understand that I'm trying to say what I'm saying, but it's also coming out as Java edition. And you know what? It's very weird. I don't know how this is like ingrained into so many different British people. I thought it was just me being crazy, but I heard someone else doing it, and now you know it's not just me. Speaking of things that aren't just me, Squeaky Ink says, I'm not going to be able to go to Twitter at the moment. Is there another way I could ask questions for Q&A Saturday? And this is, again, this is one of those weird things of like, how do you not have access to Twitter? But we'll ignore whatever war crimes you've committed just for the sake of this question, because as you can see, I found your question anyway. If you leave a questioning comment and you either have a question mark at the end, or YouTube's weird algorithm can detect that you've asked a question, it will show up when I go to search for questions for these videos. I actually didn't ask for Q&A Saturday questions on Twitter this week, just to mix things up, but next week I'll tweet out on Twitter, and I'll also go through the comment sections, and I sort them by questions, which again, YouTube has an algorithm that can work out. Everything in this video so far has been a question, just like this next one from Jace. Are we going to be able to get a toggle on Bedrock replacement for our already existing worlds? And honestly, it sounded like they spoke about it for so long that like, yeah, this is going to be optional, don't worry guys. And so I just kind of assumed that yeah, of course it'll be optional. They've said before they don't want to mess with your existing worlds so many times. However, we've got the betas now. We've got the Java edition, if you forgive my misspeaking of it. We've got the betas, we've got the pre-releases even, and I haven't seen a toggle yet. Maybe I'm dumb, maybe it's coming at the last minute, or maybe they just decided like, why do you need a toggle? Again, that's something we'll have to wait and see about, but I have seen no sign of it personally, and I'd like to believe that I'm looking pretty closely, but maybe I'm just looking incorrectly. I mean, I don't know, I can't even say Panda Express without misspeaking the word panda, so who knows if I could find that toggle, but it looks like we're not getting a toggle on Bedrock, and I imagine not on Java, unless for some reason I've just missed the Java toggle, and in which case, ignore this comment and move on to the next one, because DsNugs64, high quality username, old PS4 at Minecraft had amplified worlds, why can't Minecraft Bedrock get it back? Yeah, this is the annoying thing about Bedrock parity. It's not only that they haven't reached parity with Java, which of course has been going for much longer, they haven't reached parity with the console edition, which first of all, they said they would do as a condition of like taking over the console editions into Minecraft Bedrock. But even more importantly, it's like console edition was ran by a small studio in Scotland. It was like a couple dozen people, and they managed to make amplified and large biomes work. Minecraft Bedrock is ran by a studio of hundreds and hundreds of people. It's been going for longer than console edition, and they don't have amplified worlds, despite it being years, like a decade since it was added to Java, and half a decade since it was added to console. We just keep hearing that like, ooh, it's really hard. Why is it hard? Is it hard because you don't think mobile devices can do it? Is it hard because you're worried it will run into bugs? Because obviously there's a ton of bugs that need to be sorted there. Yeah, I don't know for sure. I have heard, I've got a few developer contacts who try not to be named. I have heard that they are very aware of it, and a lot of people would like it individually. I don't know why all of that individual love for amplified and custom world types is not being converted into it happening. Again, I can only suspect what's happening behind the scenes, and so that's all I can say. By the way, last thing here, Dan K says, in the US, it makes sense to hide your injuries from random passers-by. This is in response to me saying that, like, I got in the e-scooter accident, and my immediate thought was like, oh no, someone saw, and I have to, like, pretend I'm entirely fine so that they don't know that I'm injured. But they said it makes sense to hide it because they might call an ambulance, and who can afford it? But don't you have free emergency care in the UK? I would have laid there wailing for help. Wow, I think I broke my ass. Help me, dog walker. So, first of all, there is this fanciful version of universal healthcare, or free at the point of use healthcare, in the United States that, like, yeah, I mean, I just get hit by cars for fun because, I mean, it's not me paying the hospital bill. But my actual, you know, and like, I think that if I lived in America, I would have that view of things too. But in reality, even though I'm paying for the free healthcare already, because it's not free, they don't, like, force doctors to do it against their will. They do pay the doctors just using general tax money, which comes from people that, you know, I pay for the healthcare via my taxes already. And so, like, I should be like, yeah, let's take advantage of this effectively free service, and so I did need to go to the hospital. It would have made sense to call an ambulance for it, but like maybe it's like a part of being British, maybe it's just me personally, but like it's like, ooh, I couldn't like ask a, you know, like a person in an ambulance to take me somewhere. So I took the London Underground to get to the hospital, which was very fun, by the way. Do have to say, I enjoyed that experience. I think it was actually a tube and then a bus or something like that. But yeah, that's how I got to the hospital. I didn't take a, you know, like an ambulance. Although in retrospect, the tube cost me like £1.50 and the ambulance would have been free. So you gotta admit, the incentives are slightly disaligned, but like, I guess enough people are like me and don't try to use it that way. A lot of people are just like, you know, they get bored and they use ambulances and doctors just to like make their afternoons more exciting. But yeah, anyway, so like the final point here though, by the way, is something I found interesting, because yeah, and you imply that if you're injured and someone calls an ambulance, you have to pay for that ambulance to take you to the hospital, right? It always sounds like when people are talking about these things and how they take the Uber to the hospital, they're like, oh no, please don't call an ambulance, it'll cost money. Maybe I'm wrong about my perception here, but it feels like you can deny an ambulance and it's not your problem, it's whoever called the ambulance's problem. But if that's not true, then let me tell you about a funny prank I have. Okay, so you're in America, right? You have someone you really hate. This is someone that doesn't understand the superiority of big salmon, and you're like, I'm gonna get back at you. So what you do is you call an ambulance on them, you let them know exactly where they're gonna be in 10 minutes time, and then haha, they are surprised by an ambulance. They're taken to a hospital against their will, of course, because that's how you know, ambulances work, and then they're left with a multi-$1,000 bill, which now they have to deal with while you enjoy your superior Minecraft with slightly higher desert world generation and speed bridging in front of you. Isn't this the dream? The answer is yes, this is the dream. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. We went a little off the rails there, but Q&A Saturday, in the weeks leading up to a pre-release, it's funny, this should be the most exciting time, but as far as new announcements go, I imagine this is going to be a dead period because they can't talk about 1.19, well, 1.18 is about to come out, and they can't really announce new features 1.18 because it's feature complete. So in the next couple of weeks, just expect some chill time. I know I'm gonna have some chill time, and if you want to have some of that along with me, then make sure you come along to a live stream or two. I am going to, actually, you know, funnily enough, I'm going to the hospital on Monday for an MRI, which does sound very serious, right? I hope they take me into one of those machines, you know, where you go full body on it, it's like a coffin. I've always been terrified of those, but like, you know, now's a good time to face my fears head on, and I hope that you face your fears head on. Because let's be honest, there's nothing scarier than having a big van come to you and forcibly charge you thousands of dollars to take you somewhere. It sounds like a funny, like, Soviet Russia thing, right? Like, in Soviet Russia, Uber driver pick destination, not you. That's what ambulances are. They're very expensive Ubers where you don't get to pick the destination. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video because it's over now. Goodbye.